Hey everybody, I'm at Jam Studio 23 here, and being a bit of a musician, it's pretty neat when the magic starts happening, I guess, if you want to call it magic. And so I had the idea for a song, and now it's starting to come together a little bit. So I've got the drum track next, and I'm gonna get to that. And I think I'll sleep on the drum track because lyrics are still floating around in my head. My problem is I'm mixing a few other songs together. So yeah, more to come. I'm working on a new song, I guess. The muse is speaking to me, the muse of music. Maybe I'll throw the megaphone in this one. I never put the megaphone in anything anymore. My notes, song notes that I should include in songs, and here's all some random ideas. Alright, I'm gonna get to this. We'll talk later. It is a little bit after 10 after all. Let's talk about the Lexus for a minute. So here we are in a 2012 Lexus, and right off the top you'll notice that it has a push button start. So you put your foot on the brake, push button start. Steering wheel comes down to whatever position you've set it to. And you'll notice right away you get a reverse camera showing the back of the shop, which is pretty decent. And when you put it in forward, you'll see a GPS, which comes in handy. Now, my problem with push button starts, let's turn this off. My problem with push button starts is it sort of leaves you hopelessly dependent on your dealership or your serviceman. The average person. When I've had cars that have broken down on the side of the road, or I've needed to get to something fixed on the side of the road, it's not been that big of a deal usually to get it started if the battery's okay. So now in this case everything's push button, so if you have something wrong with the ignition you may not know, because you might think it's the button. Why isn't it starting? Because you have to have your foot on the brake. So there's like one problem. And, what if that button stops working? What if we have a electromagnetic pulse from the aliens that shut off everything? Why won't it start? Because your foot's not on the brake. So, a lot of problems you can have with a push start ignition. I, personally, if I had to design even the most futuristic car, it wouldn't have a GPS in it. It would have manual windows and manual ignition and manual steering, because when you're assisted steering, but still some of these cars nowadays, the steering wheel actually isn't connected to the tires. You know what I mean? So if your battery goes off, then your tires will maybe lock straight, and this isn't actually connected to anything. It's not connected to the steering rod. or a steering column or a steering box. It's connected to a box which is connected to the wheels. It's creepy. So, I mean, this is the future, though. I don't know, unless we have mass consumer revolt. I don't see it stopping. But still, those are my 2 cents on everything being electronic. The reason about the manual windows is because, God forbid, that you happen to need to roll down your windows and your car is in water, or your electricity for some reason isn't working and you need to roll down your windows, because it would be like that. They just will not roll down. So you're forced to try to smash it with whatever you have, like elbows or something. So, and as far as the steering being not connected to your tires goes, as I've said, I've had cars that have... I had a car, one of my last vehicles, I was coming down on the highway and in the morning time, and the engine blew and oil came out the bottom, and I knew that I had about 3 seconds before I was going to get hit from the back, because I was losing speed rapidly, so I had a few seconds to pull over. And I still had control of my steering because it was an older model car. So I had time to get it off to the side of the road before it absolutely collapsed, and then I had it towed from there. So in a case like this, if I was driving this car and something happened to the engine, the wheels may lock going straight, and I would have been hit from the back, because this is... I'm not sure about this one. This one probably is connected to the tires, but there's cars... Yeah, it is. It is connected to the tires, but there's newer cars where the steering wheel isn't connected to the tires, which is sort of creepy. And as far as the electronic ignition goes, I think we already covered that. I mean, you need to know, as a mechanically minded person, if your ignition is working or not. And there's so many things that can go wrong with a push button. I don't know, it's not starting, because your foot's not on the brake. So there's that. You know, there's a lot of different things that can go wrong. Whereas if you have a key and an ignition that you turn, then you know that, okay, certain things are working, certain things aren't. If you're hearing the like, a lot of things could go wrong with this, but I just think the less variables, the better or more reliable the car is. Relying solely on electricity for your car to work is a problem, I think, when it comes to, like, what's the backup? You know, what's the backup for when this doesn't work and you want to roll down the windows? There is no backup. Whereas as a manual, I mean, you don't really need a backup. If the gears get stuck in there, I guess then you're back to smashing the window, but you have 4 other windows that you could roll down. Anyway, I think I've said enough. Peace. It's wrong to be here. What's supposed to be here? Need the bullet holes right inside this head. Two, three, four. Follow my herd.
About it. U.S. Marshals and police. I would have to suggest. Actually, one time I was called in as a witness on Fort Greene.
128.9 a liter for diesel. The price of gas. I'm gonna be one of those old men. The price of gas.
Wants to meet the family again. No,
what's worse is that when we're older, our kids, the next generation, is gonna be like, "You're paying $1.30 a liter for gas? What? That's amazing. We're at $3.30 a liter." Ugh. And every generation thinks that it's different, but it's just inflation, Wow. Didn't mean to have this like philosophical thought pumping gas, but every generation thinks that, times are so bad, and I mean they are, but I mean, like, inflation, general, like, bread used to cost 10 cents and now it costs $1.99. Inflation is a sort of relative thing that continues to happen because of people's greed. Like, there's not more of anything on the planet than there was when our parents were our age. What is there more of on the planet? Space. There's more space. There was more space back then. But I'm saying, like, things could still cost 10 cents. you know? Bread could still cost 10 cents. Cigarettes could still cost a quarter. But somebody was like, let's jack it up to 26 cents. And then people were like, let's get more money for oil. And then there's a few things like oil and food and weapon sales and drugs that drive the entire economy. So you're pretty smart. So you can figure out that if you jack up the price of gas, your shipping cost as a manager just went up. Your product, they have to continue on the greed of the gas companies down to the consumer who's paying for, like, oil drives our economy. It's just a sad truth. It doesn't have to, but it does. Right now, it drives the main Western economies, the world economy maybe even. But you know, gas shipped to, everything is shipping, you know, shipping. I was shipping! And shipping takes gas. Doesn't have to. If everybody agreed to just go on free energy and say whatever, if they come and kill us, whatever. Tesla, John Hutchison, Nazi flying bells, like the Hanebu. Yeah, electric cars. We could ship things without using gas as much as we do. Maglev transportation, 500 miles an hour. Nah, let's just do 60 miles an hour on the highway burning fossil fuels. Meh. Makes more sense. Finn. Now, most people should know this, but on the bottom of every door, on pretty much every vehicle, there's usually 2 or 3 drainage holes. On this one, there's 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 natural-made painted holes. That's important. They're painted around, you see? It's not that somebody took out a drill, broke through the metal on the paint, and is creating a rust point. But anyway, I'm watching The Avengers, the whole movie.
Avoiding stress is a peace. And what is it?
And that's pretty exciting. So I went and got some junk food, and I'm gonna sit here and watch the movie The Avengers. Yay! Let's see that. An instant replay. Okay, now we're going forwards. This is how it happened. Oh, and I was like, oh, now I'm on the defensive. This guy's gonna just start pegging away all my boys over there. So I thought, I gotta move quick. That's what I was thinking as I was moving these. I'm the blue guys. I thought I gotta be defensive somehow, or offensive somehow. So I thought, boof, I'm taking your crap. I'm moving in on your thing, see? He was like, oh no, you're coming to get me.
Checkmate.
Yeah, and that's how it happened. Checkmate. You beat the computer at chess. Moderately good feeling. That's the Palestinian-Israeli problem in a nutshell right there. So Reagan had a dream. And Reagan's dream, which you can search for on YouTube, said, "I've often wondered how our international differences would dissolve and we would fight. We would band together to fight that mutual enemy if we had an alien invasion." I guess he sat the Russian Prime Minister down at the time and said to him as well, "Wouldn't our differences dissolve if we were facing an alien threat?" To which the Prime Minister at the time had agreed, the Russian Prime Minister. I just finished watching the movie Avengers, leaked online. Today's Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, it comes out tomorrow. And the point is, at the end, and they show a few clips on the news, and they're saying, you know, we just had an alien invasion type thing, and the Avengers saved us from that. The Avengers saved us from that. The Avenger team. So, what I'm getting at is the movie Battleship, the movie Avengers, all the way back since the Alien movies, we're being conditioned to accept aliens are evil. Every alien that wants to come to Earth, wants to invade us. Even I was watching a history program the other day where they're like, they get some scientific minds and they're all like, well, obviously the only logical reason that an alien species will come to this planet would be to invade. Logically. So as a viewer, you're just like, logically the aliens are coming here to invade. Because they're smart people on a television. And if they've figured out that the only reason that aliens would ever come here would be to invade and take us over, that would just fulfill Reagan's dream, right? It ties a lot of things up together. NATO is being used right now as a de facto world army, but imagine if we had an alien invasion, hoaxed or real, then we would have a world army fight that alien invasion. And imagine, for those people who are into control, they would have a world government, one world army, etc., all in the name of fighting aliens. So we're sitting on the brink of something that's so science fiction, but at the same time is being stuffed in our faces more so blatantly nowadays than ever before. And I pity you. I pity those of you who watch this video and think that I'm exaggerating. I pity those of you who think that I'm joking or are laughing to yourself right now, thinking that it's unrealistic or not going to happen. Reagan talked about this happening in the 60s. So I'm talking like 20 years before I was born. This was on the table of things worth talking about. But Reagan moved a little too quickly, and you can see how he's paid the consequences. Spilling the beans. But alien disclosure and all that is up on the table, and as far as the world planning of things goes, it seems to be one of the ace in the hole cards on the table. You know, ready to be used if need be. A lot of movies about alien invasion. A lot of people talking about alien invasion and disclosure. People fighting for disclosure. Every UFO that you see is an alien. Every UFO you see is man-made. People are divided on these lines. There's no such thing as UFOs. You have three camps almost, you know. People who say that there are no such thing. People who say there are, but they're all man-made. People who say there are, but they're all aliens. Then there's people who say all aliens are evil. There's people who say all aliens are good. Then there's people who are reasonable, who say, let's take each one on an individual basis. When you see a plane of people going overhead of you, do you look at that plane and say, well, those are all evil people? Unless it's a CIA plane smuggling 4 tons of cocaine into the country, then I would usually say, when you look up at a plane, it's a divided group, a mixed group. So to say that all aliens are evil, I would say is racist. Just as is saying all Jews should be burned or all blacks should be your slaves. It's about as racist. So aliens... you know, we are aliens. If you go to the moon or people on the ISS looking back on Earth, we are the aliens. So we need to claim all the racist things that we call other people. This is a big, long topic that I could talk on for a while. But we're living in sci-fi crazy land, whether you like to admit it or not.